Republicans lined up to shake Kristen Sinema's hand after she voted against changing the filibuster to pass voting rights. The U.S. Senate, keeping black folks down with a quiet handshake since 1787. A gym teacher in Florida was arrested after he threw a basketball at a sixth grader and then elbowed him in the mouth, knocking out his front tooth. The teacher was forced to resign and return to the Golden State Warriors.
A new study shows that in the past 20 years, prediabetes in children has more than doubled, thanks largely to the popularity of Mountain Dew Breast Milk Blast. Chief Justice John Roberts said that the leak was, quote, the work of one bad apple. One bad apple is also another legal argument used in Alito's opinion. The TSA reports that in the first 3 months of this year, they have intercepted 1,500 guns in carry-on bags, and the majority of them were loaded. Because you're giving me that window seat.
It's not real, guys.
It's bees. It was announced that for the first time ever, Disney parks will feature black Santa Clauses, unfortunately as part of the Villains Parade. While signing the new executive orders on crime, President Trump said a new era of justice begins, and it begins right now. Then he spent 20 minutes struggling to get into a Batman costume. In honor of Jimmy Carter's 100th birthday, more than 4,000 children around the country sent him hand-drawn cards bearing messages like, "Who are you?" and "My mom made me do this."
LA Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani was forced to fire his interpreter over gambling and theft allegations. Reached for comment, Ohtani said something in Japanese.
A martial artist in Australia punched a 7-foot-tall kangaroo that was trying to drown his dog. Australia, where life is a Mad Lib.
Oh, Colin. A 220-carat diamond known as the Rock will become the largest white diamond ever auctioned off. Wow, 220 carats. I mean, can you imagine the size of the child who mined that? A self-described anti-woke beer company has created a calendar which features, quote, the most beautiful conservative women in America, which is just a polite way of saying flat asses. All right.
President asked, will there be a nuclear war? A journalist asked President Biden if we should be worried about nuclear war, and he said no. Because what's he going to say? Hell yeah, man. Start digging a bunker, Jack. It's like when a little kid asks you where Grampy's going to go when he dies. You know, obviously you're going to say heaven. But based on some of the stuff Grampy said, you know hell is all. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried has been convicted of securities fraud, wire fraud, and illegally making a wig out of a Labradoodle. The former cryptocurrency CEO now faces up to 110 years in prison where, ironically, he will be used as an alternative currency.
Yesterday, the devil went down to Georgia. No, I'm kidding. Donald Trump traveled to Georgia to survey the damage from Hurricane Helene, which is bold because nothing scares Trump more than high winds.
Mitch McConnell, seen here walking out of a theater after watching 12 Years a Slave, announced he will step down in November. He'll be replaced by the current number 2 Republican in the Senate, a frozen embryo holding an assault rifle. Doritos has created new software called Doritos Silent, which removes the sound of eating from video calls. Not to be outdone, Taco Bell is working on new software that removes the sound of screaming from bathrooms.
An attorney for Diddy said that his client wants to testify at his trial, saying, I don't know that I can keep him off the stand, because you can't hold a guy back wearing all that baby oil.
I just don't think that the average American is scared that they're going to lose their job for withholding military aid for Ukraine. This protest was so lame that halfway through, the Republicans ordered a pizza. And a reporter took this photo, and my favorite part is this staff member's reaction when she saw the pizzas. It's the kind of expression that says, ooh, something very big has just happened. Yesterday, Will Smith resigned from the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts, and Sciences. He wasn't going to, but then Jada gave him that look.
March with King. MJ, the musical about the life of Michael Jackson, has become one of the highest grossing shows on Broadway. And my review of the acting is the same as my opinion of MJ's trial. Michael is amazing, but the kids are not believable at all.
Intelligence officials are saying that Vladimir Putin is being misinformed by his advisors about how badly the Russian military is performing in Ukraine, which is kind of like Will Smith's agent telling him, you crushed it at the Oscars.
Tesla owners are complaining that during the sub-zero temperatures that swept through the country, they couldn't get their cars to charge. But on the plus side, they were able to stay warm in the battery fires.
I'm not counting that. It was reported that a man in Austria who was high on mushrooms used an axe to amputate his own penis. Worse, then he was like, ooh, another mushroom.
A new poll shows that supporters of President Biden and Donald Trump are sharply divided over where they get their news from. People who support Biden are more likely to get their news from newspapers and mainstream media, while Trump supporters get their news from T-shirts.
The idea is to keep it fun, light. No one's going to get canceled. No one's families are going to get threatened. You know, have fun.
Sure, we'll see. Well, why don't you go first? Doctors in Iowa have confirmed a dog disease that can be passed on to humans. Fine, I'll wear a condom. That's fine.
An obese monkey in Thailand named Godzilla has been sent to a special facility to lose weight. Officials realized the monkey was overweight when a bunch of black guys kept hitting on it.
Pretty racist.
You're gonna get me murdered. Oh, God. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, for the first time, denied months-old rumors that he had died and been replaced by a look-alike from Sudan. See, even Africans can't tell black people apart.
It's just that it's very complicated.
It's kind of like how you feel about Colin Jost.
Oh, no. I love Colin.
I will say that. in a offensive way, you know?
Never had sex with me, you might have the cure for cancer. A 96-year-old German woman who was a secretary at a Nazi concentration camp has been released from detention. She is now safely in the custody of her grandson.
Michael, wait. What are you doing?
An update feature. Wow. So this is SNL.
And Grandma, if you're watching, go to bed. A new report finds that as people move into formerly wild areas of Africa, human activity is disrupting chimpanzee culture. Incidentally, chimpanzee culture is also what my grandpa calls hip-hop. Why?
I wouldn't have said that. Do a split screen of Colin and Stephen Miller for 1 second.
You don't have to do that.
Okay, now, audience, by a round of applause, who do you think Hitler would want to be friends with? Stephen Miller or Colin Nixon Jost?
My middle name. A substitute teacher in North Carolina has resigned after she reportedly told a class of elementary students that Martin Luther King Jr. killed himself. In her defense, he is the one who decided to keep running his mouth. Why? A church in Massachusetts has created a nativity scene that comments on the immigration debate by placing the baby Jesus in a cage, where he belongs.
A new report shows that that Hurricane Florence was the wettest in history. The previous record for wetness was set on the opening night of Magic Mike. Pope Francis ended a Vatican summit by promising the Catholic Church would confront the clergy sex abuse head on instead of their usual way, face down, ass up. Las Vegas is opening a pop-up vaccine site in a strip club, and don't worry, the strippers say the vaccine is a lot like Michael Che. Very quick, and you can barely feel it go in.
I know that we've had a lot of fun with me reading racist jokes that Michael writes for me, but because our country is already divided enough, I'd like to use my platform to say something that everyone of all races can agree on. Woody Allen is innocent. He did nothing wrong.
Police are being investigated after video surfaced of them using excessive force on a homeless black man accused of urinating in public. But I say great work keeping our streets clean, boys. Yes, sir. Anything the police do is all right with old Mikey Che.
Warner Brothers is producing a new movie in which Superman is black. And a black Superman actually makes a lot of sense when you remember that Superman was abandoned by his parents as a baby.
I know I'm probably the only black man brave enough to say this on live TV, but blue lives matter even more. Pretty insane that a major city is about to completely run out of water in 2 months, and I'm just now hearing about this. It's kind of embarrassing. I feel like I should care more about Africa. Kind of like when you run into an old friend and ask, "Hey, how's your kid?" And she's like, "Che, he's your son too."
Well, I knew you'd like that one, so here's another one. And before I go, I just thought of another punchline for that black Superman story. Warner Brothers is producing a new movie in which Superman is black. In this version, black Superman's kryptonite is an honest day's work.
Really doubling down on black Superman.
Black Superman will be referred to as the Man of Steel, spelled S-T-E-A-L. Good evening, everyone.
Welcome to Weekend Update. I'm Michael Che.
I'm Colin Jost. Well, guys, it's 2024, but is it? I don't know about you, but when I think of the year 2020, I never think we should run that one back.
Yesterday, President Biden released a new video with Barack Obama in which they remind people that Obamacare is still available, but according to polls, people really want to know if Obama is still available. Melania Trump made a rare public appearance when she attended the funeral of former First Lady Rosalind Carter, who died at the age of 96. Melania said that she was deeply saddened to be reminded that your partner can live that long.
And if you're feeling confused, you're not the only one. At a rally on Thursday, President Biden said he was mixed up when he claimed he had just taken a photo with a woman who wasn't even there. Then the next day, Donald Trump repeatedly confused Nikki Haley with Nancy Pelosi. Guys, I don't know if we should do this election. It's honestly starting to feel like elder abuse.
If convicted, Hunter Biden could be sentenced to up to 17 years in prison, which would be the first time any Biden has successfully completed a sentence. House Speaker Mike Johnson said that he is blurring the faces on the footage of January 6 rioters so that none of them would be charged with a crime. So unfortunately, we'll never know who they are.
even blame them. I blame us for allowing it. It reminds me of those bum fight videos where they made two homeless guys fight for money. And now we look back on it and we're like, how did we as a society let that happen? So I think the best solution is we should just tell Trump and Biden that they both won. And that we're very proud of them. And that they can rest now.
Nikki Haley received an endorsement from New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu, which would be helpful if anyone knew who that was. A new report shows that for the first time, the majority of billionaires last year received their fortunes through family inheritance. And not to brag, but I inherited my family's learning disabilities. In Monday's Iowa caucuses, Ron DeSantis beat out Nikki Haley for second place. Well, that ought to put whatever this is on his face. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, who looks like someone drew Ving Rhames with their eyes closed, endorsed Donald Trump. But remember, most Trump supporters only count him as 3/5 of an endorsement. Oh, boy.
During an interview, Elon Musk, who looked like the ghost of a guy who died in a 1950s drag race, was asked if he was anti-Semitic and said that he was in fact philo-Semitic. You know, another answer would be no. Donald Trump urged his supporters to brave the sub-zero temperatures in Iowa to vote for him, saying, even if you vote and then pass away, it's worth it. Voting for Trump and then passing away is also what happened with COVID.
Insiders are concerned that President Biden's chances for re-election could be damaged by his unwavering support for Israel. But I think the bigger problem for Biden is that he is 6 years older than Israel.
A public library in Alabama has flagged a children's picture book as potentially sexually explicit just because the author's last name is gay. Though, to be fair, the book is titled Gay's Porn for Kids.
John Kerry announced that he is stepping down as the U.S. climate envoy and is expected to focus on President Biden's re-election campaign. And it's not a great sign that Biden's campaign is a bigger emergency than climate change. In an interview on Fox News, presidential candidate Nikki Haley said that America has, quote, never been a racist country. Because if Americans were so racist, why did they have sex with their slaves?
New York Mayor Eric Adams responded to allegations that he accepted illegal donations from Turkey, saying, I have not been accused of wrongdoing and I will continue to cooperate. Then he put on his fez and sped away on a flying carpet.
It was reported that the organizers of King Charles's coronation have officially invited Meghan Markle, and this is nice, at a starting salary of $19 an hour. It's very generous, guys.
Yeah. Donald Trump posted an image of Nikki Haley made up to look like Hillary Clinton. And honestly, I couldn't tell if it was bad Photoshop or a good picture of Mark Cuban in a wig. Pope Francis called for a ban on surrogate motherhood, which he says violates the dignity of the woman and the child. Plus, the Catholic Church doesn't want extra kids around while they're trying to quit.
The Supreme Court is addressing recent allegations of ethical lapses by adopting a new code of conduct, replacing their old code of conduct, money up front, no kissing on the mouth. Senator Tim Scott announced that he is dropping out of the 2024 presidential race. With Scott gone, the most prominent black Republican is once again the Blacks for Trump guy. All right, whatever.
A new report finds that the average 50-year-old in America is worth over $1 million, while the average 30-year-old is worth more dead than alive.
Elton John won an Emmy for his farewell concert special, earning him a coveted EGOT, which is an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony.
Several several major media companies, including NBC Universal, have pulled their advertising from Elon Musk's X over concerns that ads for their shows could appear next to pro-Nazi propaganda, which is a huge relief because I was definitely worried about where this was going to end up.
A new startup company is developing a male contraceptive that involves one injection that will prevent pregnancy for 10 years. So get ready for an exciting future of taking the man's word for it. He like that, good joke.
After new polls show Donald Trump leading Joe Biden, Democratic strategists are calling Biden's re-election campaign a five-alarm fire, which is scary for Biden because in a fire, you have to use the stairs. A Volvo crashed through the front of a Whole Foods in a Maryland suburb. It was an accident so white that everyone's insurance went down. A passenger on Spirit Airlines was arrested after he repeatedly asked female flight attendants to join the Mile High Club, even though Spirit's airplanes can't get above 300 feet.
A new app has been introduced called Wrapped that claims it can show Instagram users who is looking at their pictures. Uh-oh, said a bunch of high school teachers.
A new study is being conducted to explain why redheads seem to experience pain differently. Because they're all witches?
Tesla owners are complaining that during the sub-zero temperatures that swept through the country, they couldn't get their cars to charge. But on the plus side, they were able to stay warm in the battery fires. A man on a plane in India who was trapped in the bathroom for the whole flight says the crew slipped him a piece of paper reading "Do not panic." Then he slipped them a piece of paper back reading "More paper, please." An Indiana woman was arrested after she drove her car into a building because she thought it was a, quote, Israel school. Well, that's why they don't let women drive in the Middle East. You don't like it, or?
A new study suggests that men are better than women at using a map, while women are better at sitting silently for the rest of the car ride after you tell them that.
It was reported the inmate who attacked Derek Chauvin, the police officer who killed George Floyd, stabbed Chauvin 22 times, but Chauvin still wouldn't stop choking him. All right. New Jersey police recaptured an escaped pig named Albert Einstein. They call him Albert Einstein because compared to people in New Jersey, pigs are geniuses. Oh, man.
Wow.
A new study of pregnant women finds that vaping does not harm their babies as long as they're very careful shoving the vape up there.
My God.
That's the study that I'm just...
That's a study. That's a real study. And it's...
A self-described anti-woke beer company has created a calendar which features, quote, the most beautiful conservative women in America, which is just a polite way of saying flat asses. All right.
This was a nice story over the holidays. Nearly 20 drivers on the Staten Island Expressway worked together to save a Chihuahua named Bean that had run onto the road. And then the Staten Islanders banded together again to send Bean back to where...
What's up, everybody? We're making each other read jokes live on air that the other person has never seen before.
And the idea is to keep it fun, light. No one's going to get canceled. No one's families are going to get threatened. You know, have fun.
Sure, we'll see. Well, why don't you go first?
Many doctors are saying that they have a hard time convincing their black patients to agree to take the COVID vaccine. Well, maybe they should try telling them it makes you immune from paying child support.
Whoa. A new interview with England's Prince Andrew is being called a total disaster after he said his friend Jeffrey Epstein conducted himself in a manner unbecoming. I don't know, from what I've read, it sounded like he becoming all the time.
A church in Massachusetts has created a nativity scene that comments on the immigration debate by placing the baby Jesus in a cage, where he belongs. Warner Brothers is producing a new movie in which Superman is black. And a black Superman actually makes a lot of sense when you remember that Superman was abandoned by his parents as a baby.
Researchers are testing a new method to treat cancer by injecting the cells with the herpes virus. So good news, if you've ever had sex with me, you might have the cure for cancer.
I just thought of another punchline for that black Superman story. Black Superman will be referred to as the Man of Steel, spelled S-T-E-A-L. Well, I knew you'd like that one, so here's another one. Warner Brothers is producing a new movie in which Superman is black. In this version, black Superman's kryptonite is an honest day's work.
Whoa! Doctors in Iowa have confirmed a dog disease that can be passed on to humans. Fine, I'll wear a condom. Oh, wow. Okay.
An obese monkey in Thailand named Godzilla has been sent to a special facility to lose weight. Officials realized the monkey was overweight when a bunch of black guys kept hitting on it.
That's pretty racist, Colin. It was revealed that the sequel to the movie Hocus Pocus is in the works for Disney Plus, which judging by this picture is a movie about every white woman I've ever slept with. Cool.
Recent polls show that Pete Buttigieg has only 4% support among African Americans, but that'll change once Pete announces his running mate, the Popeyes chicken sandwich.
A new study shows that the average American touches their mobile device more than 2,000 times a day. Only 2,000 times, said my penis. Okay.
A student in Texas, who is nicknamed White Lightning, set a high school record by running the 100-meter dash in 9.98 seconds. Coincidentally, people call me White Lightning because I also finish in under 10 seconds.
Las Vegas is opening a pop-up vaccine site in a strip club. And don't worry, the strippers say the vaccine is a lot like Michael Che. Very quick, and you can barely feel it go in.
This week marks the 65th anniversary of Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat on an Alabama bus. And I just wish that all black people could follow her example of sitting down and shutting up. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, for the first time, denied months-old rumors that he had died and been replaced by a look-alike from Sudan. See, even Africans can't tell black people apart.
Pope Francis ended a Vatican summit by promising the Catholic Church would confront the clergy sex abuse head-on instead of their usual way, face down, ass up. Okay. The Palm Beach mansion, once owned by Jeffrey Epstein, will soon be demolished. And I'm honestly shocked that they would demolish a place where I have so many fond memories. Rest in power, King. Police are being investigated after video surfaced of them using excessive force on a homeless black man accused of urinating in public. But I say great work keeping our streets clean, boys. Yes, sir. Anything the police do is all right with old Mikey Che.
The bat used by Babe Ruth to hit his 500th home run was auctioned off this week. Also, I'll be auctioning off the bat I used to keep my neighborhood white.
A new report shows that Hurricane Florence was the wettest in history. The previous record for wetness was set on the opening night of Magic Mike.
A new report finds that as people move into formerly wild areas of Africa, human activity is disrupting chimpanzee culture. Incidentally, chimpanzee culture is also what my grandpa calls hip-hop. Why? This week, construction began on a new hip-hop museum in the Bronx. And I know that we've had a lot of fun with me reading racist jokes that Michael writes for me. But because our country is already divided enough, I'd like to use my platform to say something that everyone of all races can agree on. Woody Allen is innocent. Okay, it says, okay, time out. I refuse to read this last joke, not because it's racist, but because there's a black man holding my cue cards. It says I can't work like this, so Merry Christmas, homeboy, you're fired. Last week was National Rosa Parks Day, or as we call it in my house, uppity bus passenger day. A substitute teacher in North Carolina has resigned after she reportedly told a class of elementary students that Martin Luther King Jr. killed himself. In her defense, he is the one who decided to keep running his mouth. Why? You're gonna get me murdered. It was announced that Creed singer Scott Stapp will play Frank Sinatra in an upcoming movie. But the good news is Sammy Davis Jr. will be played by Scarlett Johansson.
The Boy Scouts of America agreed this week to allow girls into their organization, because somebody's got to sew those badges on. Now, again, these jokes are offensive, and that's why we won't tell them on air. Pennsylvania police arrested a one-armed woman who was trying to rob a bank. Police say the hardest part was figuring out how to handcuff her. Now, that's just... No, you can't say that.
An obese monkey in Thailand named Godzilla has been sent to a special facility to lose weight. Officials realized the monkey was overweight when a bunch of black guys kept hitting on it.
Pope Francis ended a Vatican summit by promising the Catholic Church would confront the clergy sex abuse head on, instead of their usual way, face down, ass up.
A restaurant in Texas has created a controversy by putting pictures of Bruce Jenner on the men's room door and Caitlyn Jenner on the women's room door. Even worse, they called the handicap door Rob.
Yeah. No, you can't do that, Joe. You can't do that. You can't do that on TV.
Well, tennis player, ophthalmologist, transsexual Dr. Renee Richards is writing a book about her life. It is tentatively titled Tennis Without Balls.
Jocelyn Wildenstein, the plastic surgery-obsessed woman known as Catwoman, has filed for bankruptcy. But don't worry about Jocelyn. From the looks of her, this is one cat who always lands on her face.
Israel is reporting that they vaccinated half of their population. And I'm going to guess it's the Jewish half.
A church in Massachusetts has created a nativity scene that comments on the immigration debate by placing the baby Jesus in a cage, where he belongs. Warner Brothers is producing a new movie in which Superman is black. And a black Superman actually makes a lot of sense when you remember that Superman was abandoned by his parents as a baby. Pornhub has released, this is exciting, has released their parody of the musical Hamilton. And in the porn version, Hamilton absolutely throws away his shot. Warner Brothers is producing a new movie in which Superman is black. In this version, black Superman's kryptonite is an honest day's work.
Testimony during the final week provided some spellbinding moments. In a brilliant move during closing arguments, Simpson attorney Johnny Cochran put on the knit cap prosecutors say O.J. wore the night he committed the murders. Although O.J. may have hurt his case when he suddenly blurted out, "Hey, easy with that. That's my lucky stabbing hat."
The bat used by Babe Ruth to hit his 500th home run was auctioned off this week. Also, I'll be auctioning off the bat I used to keep my neighborhood white.
The New York Daily News published an editorial calling for New York to legalize marijuana, saying that the current laws primarily hurt people of color. But since it is the Daily News, the headline read, "Pot cigs catch nigs."
Went better than when I did it.
Tell me you're missing me, I'll be your evergreen, singing this melody to remind you, baby, I need you next to me, we will be king and queen, singing in harmony over mountains, baby.
Who are safer drivers, men or women? Well, according to a new survey, 55% of adults feel that women are most responsible for minor fender benders, while 78% blame men for most fatal crashes. Please note that the percentages in these pie graphs do not add up to 100% because the math was done by a woman. For those of you hissing at that joke, it should be noted that that joke was written by a woman. So now you don't know what the hell to do, do you? No, I'm just kidding. We don't hire women.
Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky made a televised speech during Sunday's Grammy Awards. It was a heartfelt, impassioned plea to help the people of Ukraine, but missed an opportunity for a legendary G.I. Jane joke. Some military experts have been surprised that despite having superior firepower, the Russian army has been slowed by aging equipment, poor motivation, and inept leadership. So basically, they're the Lakers. A new lawsuit accuses Burger King of falsely advertising their Whoppers as bigger than what people actually get. It's the same accusation made in the case of Women versus Michael Che.
Many of the members of Congress attending the State of the Union wore blue and yellow to show their support for Ukraine, while Kamala Harris wore all brown to do what she's done for the last year, disappear into the background.
After McDonald's announced it would stop doing business in their country, Russians have begun hoarding their sandwiches, including some honorary Russians.
Serena Williams criticized the New York Times after it mistakenly printed a picture of her sister, Venus Williams, and labeled it as Serena. Worse, the Times then sent an apology letter to Wendy Williams.
Intelligence officials are saying that Vladimir Putin is being misinformed by his advisors about how badly the Russian military is performing in Ukraine, which is kind of like Will Smith's agent telling him, "You crushed it at the Oscars." Yesterday, Will Smith resigned from the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts, and Sciences. He wasn't going to, but then Jada gave him that look.
After the U.S. ban on Russian oil, gas prices hit a record high of $4.30 a gallon, which is so expensive that America, we might have to move back in with our ex. Come on, Iraq. You know we never stop loving you, baby.
If Will Smith had been expelled, he would have joined a small group of people kicked out of the academy, including Bill Cosby, Roman Polanski, and Harvey Weinstein. Or, as they're also known, bad boys for life.
Obama returned to the White House for the first time in 5 years, and he jokingly referred to Joe Biden as vice president. Hey, Barack, don't confuse him.
Fans of the hit HBO show Euphoria have been harshly criticizing the series' creator for sexualizing the high school characters. Plus, it's just not accurate. I mean, take it from me, no one has sex in high school. I also really love that the reason they let Will Smith stay in the audience was that they asked Chris Rock and he said it was okay. So now we just ask the victim right after they get hit in the head? Hey, you cool if the guy who just attacked you hangs around for a while? You don't want to make him mad again.
The new HBO show Gilded Age is being praised for highlighting wealthy black families that lived in New York in the late 1800s until they were driven out by wealthy industrialist Colin Jost I.
I think we should just acknowledge that that was one of the craziest things we will ever see in our lives. It's truly like the Super Bowl wardrobe malfunction, but if Janet's nipple slapped Timberlake.
Producers for this year's Oscars announced that presenters will include John Travolta and Lupita Nyong'o, or as Travolta calls her, the wickedly talented Lucretia Barnabas.
Health officials in Washington, D.C. confirmed that a fox that bit a congressman near the Capitol had rabies. Officials suspect the fox contracted rabies when it was bitten by Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Looking at you is like a miracle. You try to reach me, but I refuse your signs on and on. Oh, now you are leaving.
Governors in several states, including New Hampshire, Ohio, and Utah, have banned the sale of Russian-made vodka. No word yet on brides.
Honestly, I think a real punishment would be to make Will Smith host next year's Oscars. Because trust me, nothing will make you question your choices in life more than hosting an award show.
An alligator in Florida was photographed swimming with a football in its mouth. Turning now to sports news, Tom Brady is missing. Tuesday was International Women's Day, so hopefully you remembered to smile. Germany is now joining the EU to send arms to Ukraine, which is the first time Germany has ramped up military production since that little 6-year gap in their history books.
Justice Jackson was honored Friday at a White House ceremony and said, "We have come a long way toward perfecting our union," which is a direct quote from Ben Affleck's proposal to J-Lo. It was reported that Queen Elizabeth II has permanently moved out of Buckingham Palace, and this is weird, in with John Mayer.
Officials at Columbia University complained that protesters broke windows and destroyed school property. But so what? College kids also do that when they win the Final Four. Also, you're a university. If you really don't want students to freak out, stop telling them the truth. That's my advice for school and relationships.
It's a nice place. At a White House ceremony honoring the WNBA champion Las Vegas Aces, President Biden mistakenly called player Candace Parker one of the greatest all-time coaches. Worse, he thought...
Israeli officials are reportedly furious after the U.S. withheld a shipment of weapons. But yes, sometimes people get angry at their intervention. All right, President Biden on Tuesday issued a call to fight hate against anti-Semitism, saying there is no place for it in America. But on the other hand, Collins Country Club. But that's not true. What about all those cops?
Oh my God. A group of geneticists have announced plans to bring back the dodo and reintroduce it to Africa. And if you ask me, I can think of at least one dodo I'd like to reintroduce to Africa. Former President Donald Trump, seen here definitely not sleeping. He's probably just praying. Former President Trump, for the first time in his trial, wrote a message on a yellow Post-it note and handed it to his lawyer while he was making an argument. The Post-it read simply, "Can't pay you."
Iowa's Final Four game against UConn was the most watched women's college basketball game ever, with 14.2 million viewers, beating the previous record by 14.2 million viewers.
President Biden announced that he's raising tariffs on Chinese electric cars to 100%. Unfortunately, Chinese electric cars is just what Biden calls Mario Kart.
President Biden said that the National Guard should not be called in to deal with campus protests, but I'm just happy that he's finally not sending military aid somewhere. That was my best joke, Colin.
Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene said next week she will force a vote to oust House Speaker Mike Johnson,
who revealed this week that he had a parasitic brainworm posted on X. I offered to eat 5 more brainworms and still beat President Trump and President Biden in a debate, which is such an insane thing to probably be right about.
A museum in France is using an AI-generated version of Vincent van Gogh to answer visitors' questions about his paintings. Unfortunately, the AI keeps responding to questions with, "What?"
Melania Trump made a rare public appearance when she attended the funeral of former First Lady Rosalind Carter, who died at the age of 96. Melania said that she was deeply saddened to be reminded that your partner can live that long. Elon Musk met with Benjamin Netanyahu this week and agreed that Israel must destroy Hamas. And I think Musk could destroy Hamas almost instantly by becoming their CEO. A doctor from Singapore has gone viral with a video telling people that they can get relief from constipation by sitting on the toilet cross-legged. So that's what they mean when they say crisscross applesauce. I get it now.
Oh, no. A new census report shows that by the end of the year 2060, 1 out of every 4 Americans will be Latino. That's how good Bad Bunny's music. Jill, if you're here, who's